This is Zach Moss, NFL running back and former Utah Utes running back. You're listening to the Utah Utes Football Digest, the source for Utah Utes football. Go Utes.
All right, Utes fans, thanks so much for tuning in. Again, this is the Utah Utes Football Digest. We're going to be diving into the Utah Utes matchup against Arizona State. They're coming into Rice-Eccles Stadium, so we'll have the home field advantage. Super exciting day for us. I think there's a lot to look at for this game. There's a lot on the line. I think both of these teams are really at a turning point right now for their season. I think we had a wildly good week last week, and it was our big coming out party against USC. But I also think Arizona State had a pretty damn impressive performance against Stanford. They really just smashed them into the ground. Whoever wins this game is going to be the leader in the Pac-12 South, so it's a pretty big deal. They're currently the number 1 team. We're the number 2 team. They have kind of had their identity together for a while, and we have still, really it feels like we're just finding our footing. So this is going to be our biggest test of the year. I'm not sure how much you guys have been watching Arizona State this year, but they are no joke. I do want to start just by taking a look at their squad. Jaden Daniels has already thrown for 1,200 yards through 6 games. Heck of a start to the year. 70% completions, averaging 9.3 a throw, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So he's not super special as a thrower. He has a really good rating, but I don't know. It's a lot of interceptions to touchdowns. It seems like a big part of this offense is him throwing little passes and his playmakers around him turning it into something more. Let's take a look at the team around Jaden Daniels. Just so you know, Jaden Daniels is the star of this team. He's the one that makes it run. He is an NFL level prospect, and he's very good. Jaden Daniels. You're gonna see him on Saturday night. You'll definitely notice him. He's gonna be the quarterback for Arizona State. Then we've got Rashad White, another really impressive player. So the guy is getting 421 yards in the season, averaging 5.5 yards a carry, with a long of 49. Look at that, though. 9 touchdown runs. That's crazy that we're only in week 6? Or maybe week 7, something like that. And it's still, they've only played 6 games, and he's got 9 touchdowns. That means he's averaging 1.5 rushing touchdowns per game. I wonder if he has any receiving work or any receiving touchdowns as well. Rashad White. Yeah, and he's got a receiving touchdown with 226 receiving yards, averaging 9.4 yards a catch. Really impressive. And then Jaden Daniels also has 369 rushing yards in the season with 3 touchdowns. Very versatile player. He's going to be a big weapon. We're going to need to watch Jaden Daniels. There's monsters all over the squad, just so you guys know. What I noticed through these numbers is this is a squad that likes to spread the ball around. You notice none of these receivers have insane yards on the season, but trust me, we're going to look into the PFF grades and everything in a little bit here, but this is a really good squad not to be played around with. We need to take them seriously, and truthfully, they are the biggest test of the season by quite a big margin. So, you can take a look here. Curtis Hodges is their tight end. Ricky Pearsall. They've got a bunch of guys here that are going to be weapons we need to stop. Let's take a look at Utah. So this is a little more of a positive note. Utah has really come into their own. Check this out. Cameron Rising already has 625 yards. He wasn't even really the starter until 1 game ago. And 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, with 154.8 QB rating. Oh, another shout out to Cameron Rising. He was actually the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week. Huge honor, big deal. I think that puts the whole Pac-12 on notice that we have found our identity. We have found our guy in Cameron Rising, and we're going to keep moving forward and becoming a great team throughout the rest of this year. Another guy we got to give a shout out to is Tavion Thomas. 247 yards in the season, and that's really, I mean, if we're being honest, that's really just through 2 games with 3 rushing touchdowns. He killed it against Weber State, and then he had really bad fumble issues, kept fumbling, and then he had another breakout performance yet last week against USC. The guy is very impressive. He feels like he hit a turning point as well as this team, and he's going to be a weapon to be messed with next week. I'm really hoping this week when we're playing Arizona State that Tavion Thomas is a weapon, that he is not a liability anymore, that he is honestly a solidified weapon. When you have 37 carries, right, that's a lot of carries, and you're averaging 6.7 yards a carry, that's not a small sample size, right? That's when you're talking about a legit guy that is going to be, an every down kind of, just an every down kind of road grader guy, a 3-down back, a real playmaking guy. We also have Micah Bernard, right? He's been a kind of a consistent, solid player for us. He's had his ups, he's had his downs, but just a consistent, solid, reliable guy that we can give carries to. He almost had a touchdown last week, and I like him being really involved in these game plans. He's a playmaker. He just needs the carries until he breaks one off. All right, and now let's take a look at our receiving core. Our receiving core is a little underwhelming overall. Sucks that the tight ends are both, 45 plus yards ahead of any of the wide receivers. The tight ends are probably going to be a big part of this week against Arizona State. Hopefully we can get some of these receivers involved. Kind of a really cool thing to look at is with Britton Covey, he really wasn't getting that much work. I would imagine 10 of those 13 receptions are in the past 2 weeks. So I really believe Britton Covey could be the leading receiver even past those tight ends within the next couple weeks. But either way, we got a lot to look forward to. We got a good squad here. And then taking a look at this defense has been the lifeblood of this team. Look how many big names are on here. Devin Lloyd, Clark Phillips, Nephi Sewell, Vontae Davis. We're going to talk about Vontae Davis. I mentioned him at the post-game recap against USC and how many plays he was making around the field. Wait till you guys see where he is on PFF. He's the, college football starting to take notice of how good this guy really is. Then we got Reed here. He's really only played in like 2 games. The guy is like 19 tackles. It's crazy. With the sack, with the pass defense, with an interception. It's awesome, guys. I think we should be really excited about where we're going to go with the squad. They're all still, refining their roles. We're only halfway through the season. Oh, we're not even halfway through the season. We've only played 5 games. But on that note, I want to go ahead and dive in to the teams and look at the matchups we have to look forward to. So first, let's look at Cam Rising. All right, so Cam Rising, his grade on the season is a 72.4. Just so you guys know, last week I think he was coming in at like a 65, something like that. I remember we looked at it during the bye. So his grade to be a 72.4 now must have been quite significant against USC, which obviously it had to have been. He killed it, and I really don't think that it's fair to say that he's only a 72.4. I'd probably put him at about a 78 to an 80 if once you count in the fact that he's really hitting his stride. And when we take last week as a sample size, that's really exciting to see where he can go. I think we've got a real one here in Cam Rising. We're going to go into some of the stars that Arizona State has, and we'll talk a lot about them. I do want to be clear, though, that with Cam Rising, he's going to need to step up. We have a good team. We really do. But in football, you're only as good as your quarterback can really take you. Like we've seen games where we had poor quarterback play and our defense just kept the game close all game and we barely squeaked it out or we barely lost. Your quarterback wins you games in football. We need to do a good job of having a better team around him, but it's going to come down to Cameron Rising to actually, step up to the plate and get the job done. I have all the faith in the world in the guy, but I really think that's where we're heading as a team is Cameron Rising is the leader and he's the guy to make it happen. Obviously, our defense is the lifeblood, but when we're talking about our offense, we need to move the ball as well, right? And Cameron Rising seems to be the guy to do that. It's kind of Cameron Rising making plays and then a run game that's really impressive. So now taking a look at our wide receivers, no one's super impressive. Covey's grade has been going up week after week. I'm loving that we're getting him involved. He's real explosive once the ball's in his hands. Check out that 69.6 run grade. That's from us giving him sweeps, stuff like that. Take a look here. Solomon Enos too. He was kind of a non-factor last game, but still a really good run blocking grade. And then Vele, yeah, the grade's really bad, but I would imagine that his grades before this must have been really bad because he lit it up last week. Vele was one of the main targets for Cam Rising, and he was the one that had that huge touchdown catch in the end zone. So the flea flicker play. So really exciting. Howard too felt like he was coming into his own. I really feel like with our receiving core, these grades are not reflective of what they looked like last week. Let's hope they can look good again this week and kind of carry that momentum after a really poor start to the season for these guys. All right, now our running backs, kind of the the shining gem of this team here with the Utes. This offense, we recruit really well at running back, and that's why we always have such a stable of guys that can be, just huge playmakers at any given moment. Check this dude out, man. Tavion Thomas. I mentioned him when we were looking at the player stats. 79.4 grade. When we're talking about a running back with a 79.4 grade, that's very, very high. Just to give you guys an idea, before I look at that, I just want to show you guys. So Chris Curry, terrible. Not a fan of when he's touching the ball right now. Hopefully he can prove himself, but let's not make him a key part of this game plan. I like that we have him in for pass blocking. Micah Bernard and TJ Pledger, both big-time playmakers. These are guys that can get lots of carries. So is Tavion Thomas. We have a roster of 3 guys where we can keep switching these guys out, and you're not going to know what we're doing with each guy, right? They're all talented. Oh, another thing is Tavion Thomas, that pass blocking 70 grade. I don't know if you guys saw that. I forget the exact play, but it was one of those edge rushers came around the corner. Tavion Thomas straight pancaked the guy. I'm legit, man. He looks like a fullback or a tight end. He is a monster, and he has some burst to him. He gets in that open field and just takes off. So really exciting. I do want to show you guys though. So 79.4. His grade is, his sample size isn't big enough to make this list, but just to give you guys an example, he would be, let me see, 79.4. So if his sample size was a little bigger, he'd be tied for the 39th best running back in college football. So that's really awesome. I mean, this guy's a legit playmaker, and all he has coming into this week is so much momentum. So if he can just carry that and become a big playmaker, it's going to help us wonders. I don't think we really use a fullback, so we'll skip fullbacks. Then another big part of this team is our tight end group. This tight end group, awesome. Dalton Kincaid. He's the number 16 tight end in all of college football. Just a monster, right? 77.6 grade. I mean, he's just outside of the top 10, and I remember during the first week he was the number 1 tight end in college football. Keithy, the number 56 tight end in college football, which is also very good, right? Let's see. Pass blocking grade, solid for Keithy. Receiving grade, very solid for Keithy. Well-rounded guy. Could have a little bit better of a run block grade, but overall well-rounded and a guy that we like to use. Does he have a... Yeah, this is his running grade. He is a good runner with the football in his hands. So lots of cool weapons there for us. Let's take a look at this offensive line. Some ups, some downs after last week. A couple guys, their grades, took a big bump after last week because they did a good job. Other guys, like the guy we're about to talk about, not so much, right? Who we're going to be talking about right here, our center, Nick Ford. I mean, his grade went down. It was a 52. Now it's a 51.4, which means he basically graded it at 51 last week. I don't understand how this guy's playing so damn poorly. Maybe this next week I really got to keep an eye on him. I mean, the offensive line's kind of up and down all the time, but this guy, it's just a little ridiculous. It's like, where is he, you know? How is your pass blocking grade at 32.8? I remember we looked at it last week, and it was a 28. Sorry, I had to grab a water there. You guys would be surprised. Your voice gets pretty hoarse when you're making these videos. You're just talking by yourself for a while, so it definitely happens. Okay, so now let's take a look at our guards. Kind of similar situation, up and down, right? Utah, boom. All right, Utah Utes. Okay, check it out. So Keaton Bills, a guy that's kind of week after week, nothing special, but he's looked solid. This guy, Laumea, I mean, 268 snaps, and he's grading out at a 47.5. Not trying to be a jerk, but damn, like, get that guy off the field. A 47.5. You think Nick Ford's bad? Look at this kid. So, Johnny Maea, right? He's only got 5 offensive snaps, and they're all in run plays. But I really like his potential, right? If he's that good of a run blocker, let's get him more reps. I mean, what do we have to lose? Look at these other two. We're talking about really low grades. All right, and let's go to our tackles. For some reason, they have Daniels moved to tackle, and he was a guard. Maybe he has been playing at tackle, and I just have not noticed. I guess we'll have to find that out. Maybe he got switched his position to tackle. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I mean, when NFL teams are looking at him, I would imagine they're going to want him to play tackle. This is a real bright spot. Hopefully we can have these guys move around and fill in at different spots in the O-line. But look at this. So Simi Moala, a 66.4, very solid run block. Bad pass block, but not compared to how this line performs, it's not that bad. So we've got one guy with over 100 snaps, one guy with over 200 snaps, one guy with over 300 snaps. I mean, Daniels is a beast at tackle. It's awesome to see. I want to see these guys getting reps. It's exciting that this line is actually starting to do something. Hopefully they can show up against this team. Like I said, we're going to talk about ASU. I'm just breaking our team down first. They are no joke. Just so you guys know, I'm going to make a statement. They're probably the toughest team we've faced all year by a good margin. And we're coming into our own, and we're a better team than we've been all year by a good margin. This is what I love right here, right? So I think last week one or two of these guys was grading a little higher. Nothing crazy, just a little higher. But what I love is really we have 4 corners that are all decent. We have 3 guys that are pretty good, and then Clark Phillips, who I don't know. I actually think he's better than they make him out to be. He goes against the #1 receiver every time. He was on Drake London one-on-one all day, and I know he didn't do that well, but it's like you also have to consider who he's against. Drake London has been making, premier corners look like trash all year. And this guy, isn't he a freshman? Let's take a look. Clark Phillips, he is a fairly new recruit if I'm correct. Yeah, check it out. He is a true freshman. I mean, this is a kid, a true freshman playing one-on-one against Drake London all night. That's a big deal. Props to Clark Phillips. That was an awesome performance last week. And then we got 3 guys here that are all solid playmakers that we can rely on a lot. All right, so this is one of the big standouts from last week. His grade went up a lot, and I called him out at the end of last game. I said this guy was all over the field making plays. Check it out, guys. Vontae Davis, an 84.7 grade, tied for the 4th best safety in all of college football. That is a big deal, guys. We have a few playmakers on this defense that are legit NFL high-end prospects. Vontae Davis happens to be one of those, okay? It's a big deal. It's really exciting. To have someone graded this high on your team means we're talking about, a game-changing guy. And the greatest thing, this is what you want from DBs, is that it's in coverage. Some of this other stuff is nice, right? Like it is good to have, but when you're talking about coverage, that's what you want from your safeties is coverage. That's what we need, right? And let's actually go to Utah, see how our other safeties are grading out. All right. Brandon Mckinney, lot to be desired there. Wouldn't be surprised to see us running a lot of one safety over the top. I mean, he's not really doing well anywhere. Or if we start giving some of these corners reps at safety, I wouldn't be shocked at any of that. All right, now our linebacker group. We put the pressure on them last week, and they showed up. That offensive line was manhandling us for a little while. And over time, we eventually, just started punching them in the mouth and making it happen. It was over time, we eventually just kind of took over that game with our defense and our offense. Check this out. Devin Lloyd, the number 3 linebacker in all of college football, and Sewell, the number 26 linebacker in all of college football. Reed, kind of a tough week for him last week. He's a young guy, right? I think he is a freshman. Let me just double check here. Boom. Yep, freshman. So he's going to have his ups and downs, but either way, the guy had a really impressive game against Washington State. We'll see some ups and downs, though. That's to be expected with a freshman. I mean, Hayden Fury here, another guy, he's only gotten 82 defensive snaps, but he's making plays with those snaps, right? Good coverage, good run defense, okay pass rush. This is a guy we want to get on the field more. Reynolds, another solid player. And then Reed, I mean, we have a good linebacker group with real high at the top talent. We're talking elite linebackers. Even Fury, I don't understand why he's not seeing more reps on defense. That seems like it would be a good idea. So they're going to be a big part of how we're going to win this game this week against ASU. All right, interior defenders. This is like an average position for us. Nothing special. There is definitely some to be desired. We'll talk about it a little when I break down ASU's team. But overall, this is kind of a group that we could see a little more out of, but they might have a good matchup this week. So check out the 2 top defensive interior players. So Kafusi and Putu Tau. Yeah. So 2 solid players, both kind of good in different aspects of the game. And then Mawala, a 74.4 pass rush grade. That's cool to see. He could improve a lot in the run defense, but still a very solid pass rush player. And then let's take a look at the edge defenders. So for Utah, the edge defenders, we all know who we're going to be looking at. It's going to be Mika Tafua. The kid has really started to hit that point where you kind of know what he's going to be, at least for this year. And that's not a shot at him. I think we saw some real ups and downs. Solid run defense, solid pass. I would say good run defense, good pass rush. He's just not at that elite level. I don't know if that's an athleticism issue or what it is. He's a good player. Nothing against him. I just think he struggles against really high-end running quarterbacks that have speed, and that's what we're going to face this week. But with that, I think we have a good player here in Mika Tafua, number 42. Van Fillinger, not the greatest grades, but he's starting to come into his own. We got some other players that are getting reps, though, that are making plays. Let's try to work these guys in. Let's work them all in, give them some reps, see what they're going to come out to be. Miki, I mean, this number 47, that's a really good grade. I mean, we're talking like if we could work him in and he's proven himself across from Tafua, that would be awesome. All right, and now we're going to go into the team for ASU for the Sun Devils. Like I said, guys, this is probably the toughest team we've faced all year by a good margin. We're going to start with their quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Sorry about that. All right, Arizona State Sun Devils. So Jaden Daniels. You guys see what I'm talking about here. 87.5 grade, 82.2 passing, 78.1 running grade. He's going to be a dual threat guy, and he's honestly the type of guy we struggle with. It's not fun for me to say. He's the number 20 quarterback in the country. this is going to be similar to Jaren Hall, right? It's going to be on our edge players to contain this guy. I think we just saw some promise, especially with some of those guys that haven't gotten a lot of snaps. Solid pass rush grades. I think keeping him inside the pocket and not letting him make big plays with his feet is going to force him to throw the ball, which I don't think is a terrible idea. I mean, it's not like we have slot corners and then we have one of the best safeties in the entire country in Vontae Davis. So that could be a promising way to do it. Or you make him run the ball, right? You let him run around. I mean, we're going to have to figure it out, but whatever we do, I think we have to put the pressure on our linebackers. Hopefully the edges can help, but we want to put the pressure on our linebackers. So whether that means our linebackers are dropping back in coverage or that means that our linebackers are the ones containing him, they're our stars. That's where we need the playmakers to be. Okay, now the wide receivers that Jaden Daniels is going to be throwing to. They don't have any superstar receiver, but they have two really good receivers. Let's take a look. Okay. All right. So the Arizona State receivers, we were just looking at their yards. So basically two okay receivers and then two, I'd say, pretty good receivers. So check this out. So one thing about this, though, that's good to see is Pearsall, his big boost to his game is his run blocking grade, and then he looks like he's a decent runner, and then he threw the ball pretty well. I think I remember that watching the highlights of that game. But either way, he's not a superstar receiver. Neither one of them is really a crazy receiver. Hopefully our corners can match up pretty well with these guys and at least hold them back. What I noticed from watching them last week when they were playing is that they do a really good job after they catch the ball. It's going to be on us to actually make sure that we limit their huge plays, right? We don't want them just, catching these dump offs and then breaking them for 15 to 20 yards. Check this out. You can tell it's a big part of their offense is to work their receivers with run blocking and then have their other receivers make plays. Look how many snaps these guys are seeing. And they're crappy receivers. They're just really, really good run blockers. They like to run screens. They like to outman you, not even at the offensive line. They want to break tackles and make big plays that way. They want to break your will. You can see that's a big part of their game. That's their method to success. So our corners cannot have what happened with Drake London. We can't just be letting them catch screens and make plays. That's another thing that's going to be on our linebackers to get up in there, get up in the box, stop these from being big plays. Make these 3 to 5 yard screens instead of, 10 to 20, and we can force them to have to drive the ball down the field, and they'll make mistakes. All right. Now, running backs. We looked at this kid earlier, Rashad White, really good running back. Let's take a look at him. Yeah, 83.3 overall grade. He's the number 21 running back in the entire country. He's number 3 on Arizona State. Check it out. Monster runner, really good receiver. I mean, this is going to be one of the keys, guys. I'll kind of touch on it a little more. We have the good edge rushers that should be able to, they have good tackles, but we have good edge rushers that should be able to at least contain the run inside. And then I think our D-line actually matches up pretty well with their O-line, so hopefully we can take advantage of that. And then let's take a look at their tight ends. They do have they actually have two, I think, that are really good tight ends. I thought we had a good tight end room, but they have a really good tight end room. Okay. Boom. Okay, Arizona State. Check these two out. 82.7 and 77.4. Those are monster tight ends. And one, just like most teams in college football, one's a monster run blocker and one's a monster receiver. That's kind of a bonus when we're game planning around them. We could take advantage of that, use the matchups that we like. It's just something we're going to want to take a look at. This, like I said, I'm sure you guys are starting to notice a trend with all these grades. They're really high. This is a very good team. Just so you guys know, I said the same thing about USC. I would actually say even though Arizona State is ranked number 18, that does not tell you how good they are. This seems more like a top 10 kind of team, a really good squad we got here. All right. And then with that, let's check out their interior offensive line, starting with the center. Boom. All right, center. Okay. Okay, center. See, not that great. I mean, he's not as bad as Nick Ford, but still nothing great. A really good pass blocker, not a special run blocker at all. This should be a guy we can take advantage of by not allowing them to run the ball up the gut on us. They're gonna have to work outside. They actually do have a good tackle duo, but we have a pretty good group of edges, especially some of these unproven guys look like they have really high potential. I would love to see them get some reps, kind of see what they can do. I know it's always scary when you're playing unproven guys, but still, I think it's worth it against these guys. Oh wait, this is us. This is our terrible guard group. All right. All right, bam. All right. All right, check it out. So with the guards, they have two real rough guards. I'm sure they might have, yeah, look at that. Even they're ignoring the minimum snap. Their whole guard roster, this guy's okay, this guy's pretty bad, and this guy's extremely bad. And they're all really good pass blockers, not good run blockers. This is going to give us opportunities, right, guys? We want to take advantage of this. We need to stop them from at least running the ball. Force them to throw, because that's what their team is set to do. Force them to throw, right? This way, we can use the matchups that we have to try to make them make mistakes. Once we can shut down the part of their game that's not as effective, then we can just focus on shutting down the pass, right? And it's not going to be easy. This is going to be a tough game. And just kind of looking at it, it really feels like it's going to be a shootout if we can keep up. I don't see us holding this team to less than 21 points. So hopefully our offense comes out here ready to play. Okay, check it out. So a really good cornerback room. Again, there's a trend with this team. This is a legit squad. So a 77.2 and a 70.4. We don't really have any receivers that are going to take advantage of these guys. We're just going to have to make something happen here and use our tight ends. Now let's go to the next position group. All right. So the next position group is, let's see here. All right, the safeties. All right, one of our best positions was Vontae Davis. Let's see how Arizona State is looking as far as along the lines of how the safeties look. Okay, this is really promising, right? A 63 and a 61.1. Neither one of those guys are impressive. I would actually call that below average, right? Those are two guys we could really take advantage of. And the great thing is that the worst part of their game is their coverage grade. So they put these guys on our tight ends. Our tight ends have pretty good receiving grades. We take advantage of these matchups and we make it happen, right? All right, and now the linebacker group for Arizona State. Very top heavy, what we're looking at here. Let's ignore the minimum snap. Okay, so they have some really good unproven guys that are kind of just, you know, they haven't gotten a lot of snaps, but they're really good players. This is going to be another really big group for them. It's going to be a group that we are going to have to address. A lot of good run defense grades that I'm seeing, and the guys that don't have good run defense grades are pretty good in coverage. And this Darian Butler guy, not a great run defender, good pass rusher, elite coverage guy. I wouldn't be shocked to see this guy matched up with our tight ends. And then the interior defenders. This was, let me pull him up here. If I remember correctly, it's one really good guy, and then the rest were not impressive at all. Yeah, check it out. A 76.8, and then the rest of them, nothing special at all. Actually pretty bad across the board. So what we're going to want to do is if we can lock up this 76.8 B.J. Davidson, number 98, we can pick on these other offensive linemen. I mean, some of these guys are guys that even Nick Ford could go one-on-one with and still hold his own. So that's a good sign. That means we may be able to run it pretty well on these guys. Just kind of bad grades across the board for these other guys. And then let's check out their edge defenders, the last group we're going to be looking at for Arizona State. All right. All right, the Arizona State edge defenders, one really good guy in Tyler Johnson, number 41, and two, above average, like solid guys in number 91 and number 96. They're all pretty good run defenders. None of them have super big weaknesses. Johnson's a good pass rusher and run defender. Overall, a really good group here. I'm going to kind of call it there. So, just to touch on a couple things that we went over there. This, like I've said a lot today, this is definitely the best team we've played. This is a really good group. It's going to be a tough game. What I see is a shootout. I really do. I don't think our defense can hold this team to less than 21 points. We need to see what we saw last week. We need that offense to come out and just look like the firepower that we saw last time. I really think they're capable of that. I think they need to, come out strong and not start slow. They need to, jump in, take the lead, and make it happen. The pressure is going to be on Cam Rising. The pressure is going to be on, this receiving core, these tight ends, these running backs to make plays. What I really think we're going to need to see is we need to see this team take the next step. There's so much talent on Arizona State that we're not going to be able to play dink and dunk football and 3 and outs here and there. We need effective drives almost every time we have the ball. I do think we're capable of doing that, but we need to see this team we saw last week. Arizona State is probably the best team in the Pac-12 other than Oregon maybe. But this is our shot, right? This is our shot to right the wrongs that we had earlier this season. We all talk about, hey, if Cam Rising would have been the starter against BYU and against San Diego State, we would have won those games. A lot of people say that, and I probably have a pretty similar sentiment about those. But the truth is, if we want to say that that's possible, then Cam Rising needs to step up and win a game like this. If we want to be the number 1 team in the Pac-12 South, this is how we do it. We win this game, and this season looks a lot different. But this is not going to be a gimme game. It's going to be real rough. Even if we do win, I see this being a close game. My prediction of this game would be that if we come out and look legit and look solid and look like a team that's prepared for this game, we can win. My prediction, 31-24 for the Utes. I hope that's the case, guys. It's gonna be a fun game. I like that they're coming into Rice Eccles. Hopefully we get out there, guys. After that momentum we had last week, let's make it loud. Let's make the stadium go wild. And let's try to shut up the Sun Devils, get them nervous, shake them off, right? But either way, guys, I'm super excited for this. It's been a hell of a season so far. We have a hell of a season to look forward to. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. I love making these videos. I love hearing your feedback, and it makes me want to keep making them even more the more you guys comment and reach out about what you think. But on that note, guys, have a good night. I'll put this video up in the morning. Go Utes.